dance for joy.
Welcome to Sensible Secondhand Reviews, a series where we look at practical and sensible cars that you can buy for a budget of between £1,000 and £5,000. This is a 2012 Skoda Citigo 1 litre SE, and it's probably the definition of a sensible second-hand car. But is it any good? Should you care? Let's find out, shall we? So the Citigo, Volkswagen Arp and Seat Me, they're basically all the same car, were launched between 2011 and 2012. The Citigo in particular was launched in 2012 in this country, and they're all built on the same production line in Bratislava in Slovakia. They were sort of an attempt by the Volkswagen Group to build a very light, very functional little car that was still sort of fun to drive and would have very low running costs. The Arp, which is the last one of the trio to be in production, has literally just been discontinued. And it's sort of a shame in a way. Well, there goes the trade plate across the bottom of the windscreen. They actually drive with a sort of degree of delicacy that you don't see in a lot of very small cars. Certainly the main rival to these would have been things like the Citroen C1, Peugeot 107 and 108, the Toyota Aygo, the Suzuki Celerio and things like that, and it's a lot more refined than any of those. The only engine that was available in these cars was a 1 litre, but with a couple of brake horsepower outputs. In the Citigo, there were only 2 versions, this 59 brake horsepower version and a 73 brake horsepower version, but was only available, I think, in the SEL and Elegance models. This does 0 to 60 with this manual gearbox in something like 14 seconds, which is not the fastest ever. But the majority of people who look at a car like this, I suppose you get used to it. You do have to thrash it quite a lot, which is a bit of a shame, but you know, there we go. The main problem with this engine, though, is not necessarily the power, although that might be an issue for some of you. It's the fact that it has a wet timing belt. So, wet timing belt alert. Other than that, you could buy an electric version of this car, and that was taken off sale in 2020. Those are probably quite highly priced now in a way, although with the depreciation of second electric cars, perhaps not. These have held their value remarkably well, actually. This early one is actually on sale for $4,995 at the moment. That's a bit more than other cars of its age, but it's in remarkably good condition. It's only done about 25,000 miles, so maybe that's probably why. But yeah, driving one of these, I've driven a Seat Me before, and I've also driven the Citigo in Monte Carlo for, which drove a very similar way to this. The interior was a bit different from this. It was 17, that one, and this is a 62 plate, so a bit outdated, but overall quite similar. Perhaps not the best day to be filming viewers, but sometimes just the way that it goes. It's very cheerful though, this bright yellow little Citigo. This one is from the very first year of Citigo production. It's a 2012, and the mileage is really, really low. It's about 24,000 miles, I believe. Quite highly specified as well. It's got parking sensors. Doesn't have the built-in sat-nav or anything like that. When I say built-in sat-nav, I mean Garmin gave you a sat-nav that you can actually sort of mount on top of the dash in a sort of little pod thing, which I'll show you later. This car doesn't have that. So we've got a relatively large boot, when this car was new, it was competing against cars like the Peugeot 107 and Skoda Igo and Citroen C1, and those have tiny boots. This one, it's a much more sort of conventionally sized boot, 251 litres. Now the lip is massive, it's absolutely huge. I'll just move that trade plate out the way a second. See, this car is actually in really, really nice condition. Its owner was local to where I am, and I think he had it from new or something like that. You can actually take this up. We've actually got a space of a spare in there too. It's a bit annoying that that doesn't actually latch on, so it doesn't lift up with the tailgate, but you know, there you go. Yeah, parking sensors. It's a pretty rare option on one of these, I should think. The 3-door doesn't really show this particularly well, but if you bought a 5-door, you only got pop-out rear windows, and I think it's only a 4-seater. I will have a look. I think this is a 4-seater rather than a 5-seater. So we'll just see if we can move this out the way. There we go. It does slide forward. Excellent. It's better than some cars. Yeah, only got 4 seats in here, because most of the time, car like this, you wouldn't need 5 anyway. That's actually surprisingly easy to get in the back. It's a lot easier than a lot of larger cars. Headroom's actually okay. I'm 5'11" and I'm not touching the ceiling. I imagine though knee room is going to be a bit of a problem, so I've moved this back. Yeah, that's going to have to be adjusted. Also, the seats are quite large. There's no separation between the head restraint and the rest of the seat, so there's nothing here, so it could be quite dark. And we have got a nice light headliner in here. We've also got cup holders either side, which is really good. Be careful getting in and out not to knock anything. Yeah, speakers in the back as well. Maybe on some of the more basic models, which had things like windy windows, I'm not sure you necessarily even got speakers in the back, but this one has it, and that's good. Yeah, there's really not an awful lot to say really about this interior. It's very functional, but it's not very exciting. But that's absolutely fine. You don't buy a car like this necessarily for it to be exciting, do you? Right, I'm going to have a second to adjust. Maybe if I can actually do that with... No, I'm going to need 2 hands. Hold on a second, viewers. I'm actually really impressed with the level of seat adjustment in this car. Like, you can go back a really, really long way. Far, far more than I would ever need. So yeah, the Garmin Satellite would actually just go into here. You mean if you had it, you wouldn't take that cap off, but on later cars, after 2017, you could get a smartphone cradle, which is a lot more useful than this built-in sort of, proprietary Garmin system that sort of plugs into the top of there. Not really a lot to say. We've got 4 blanking plates. It's a bit like that first generation Fabia we had on No Budget Reviews last year. We've got more blanking plates here. We've actually got switches, which is wonderful. Just a tiny little radio screen there, absolutely tiny. CD player slot here, aux in there, everything you need and nothing that you don't. We've got no steering wheel controls. It's not even a leather steering wheel, and then just a little shelf and a cup holder there for you to fight over with a passenger. One thing that's good is that you've actually got, I know this sounds really silly, but you've actually got a little central door locking here, but you don't get 2 electric window switches. If you want to open the passenger side, you lean over like this, because who needs 2 switches on the driver's door? You could get electric mirrors on some trims. This doesn't have them. There's no chromed sort of accents on the door handle. I think on like a Monte Carlo you might have got that. Standard headlights, standard wipers, and then the instrument cluster here. Tiny little rev counter. There's not even a temperature gauge. I think you just got a couple of lights, but that's all you need. Look, what more is it that you do need? So if you put the key in here, See if we can get this radio to sort of come on. Right, just turn that volume off. We had Madness earlier on, which you know, is what happens on my channel. So yeah, there we go. And then glove box, get the secret mission documents out and see if they actually go in. Book pack and everything is in there. No, you get a little holder thing for stuff up there for some reason, but you don't get the sort of full-size glove box that I would want. Never mind. Suppose we'll cope, won't we? Yeah, big door pockets, particularly on this 3-door model, and 5-speed manual. You could get an automatic as well. I'd probably stick to the 5-speed manual. They're quite strange, these. Some of them, I don't think on this one, but on some of them, there's like a sort of lockout for reverse, where you push it down, and you can't actually move it unless you do that. I think on maybe the facelifted ones, this doesn't have that, thankfully, but they are a right pain, the ones with the reverse lockout. They just don't seem to work properly. Another thing that I don't like about these cars is the fuel flap, which you might think, what's this ridiculous, but if you lock this with the key, and you can see you need the key to lock it, it's really, really hard to undo it using the key. It's like a Fiat 500. It's the same as that. I don't know why they did that. They could have not done that, but there we go. So yeah, normal handbrake, 12-volt socket. Not much else to say. I suppose we better have a look at the engine. Tiny, tiny little 1-litre engine, not turbocharged. It's not called a TSI. It's the same family as the 1-litre TSI, and this was the first car to use this particular engine. This is the most basic unit of all, 59 horsepower. It does have a wet timing belt, which you do need to be very aware of, viewers. In fact, there might be a wet timing belt coming up at some point for the alert. But, you know, not really much else to say. Even got a tiny, tiny, tiny little coolant reservoir. Really tiny one. And that's about it, really. Only got 3 cylinders. It holds something ridiculous like 3 litres of oil or something like that. It's absolutely tiny. So servicing costs, apart from the wet timing belt, should be quite reasonable, really. This one's obviously in excellent condition. It's only done 25,000 miles. Front of the car's just quite simple looking. We've got daytime running lights, but they're little normal bulbs. So in terms of actually looking after this yourself, given this car's some way out of warranty or manufacturer's warranty, obviously they do come from LSB cars with warranties if the car's over £1,500. Probably have a good at you know, having a go yourself if you want to service it. Right, let's go out for another drive, shall we, viewers? It's a really quite an accomplished car for the sort of size and the price that it is. Obviously, there are loads of these around. It was an awful lot of derivatives to choose from. But this sort of, I suppose, more basic Skoda model is the one you go for if you just want this ultimate essence of a little car, and that's basically what you get. You get this really tiny little car, quite good interior space, and really quite an enjoyable sort of character to it. And you know, I can see why people really like these and why they kept them in production until 2019 and for the Citigo and 2023 to the up. Lloyd Young Consulting stickers, t-shirts and mugs are available by clicking the link to the Google form in the video description below. Let's now look at some Skoda Citigo trim levels. For the petrol ones, there was the S, the SE, the SEL, the Monte Carlo, the Elegance, which was like the earlier version of the SEL, the Sport, the Black Edition and the Colour Edition. Ironically, the Monte Carlo and Sport versions didn't get the more powerful engine. They only got the 59 brake horsepower engine. The average fuel economy for one of these cars is about 64 miles per gallon on the old NEDC cycle, which is really good. It's a shame in some ways that these cars have been discontinued, and I don't think they're going to be replaced with a petrol equivalent at all, because they do offer quite cheap motoring if you keep an eye on the wet timing belt. So viewers, should you consider a Skoda Citigo, Seat Me or Volkswagen Up exclamation mark for your hard-earned budget up to £5,000 as a sensible second-hand buy? Well, I don't see why not. We've already talked about the main issue with these cars, but yeah, they drive a lot better than the first generation C1 iGo and 107. They're a bit more sophisticated than those, and actually they've sort of held their own for quite a long time. And in a way, it's a shame that we're not going to see their sort of likes again. But thank you ever so much once again for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and comment below, and we shall see you again soon for more reasonably priced motoring.